As someone who moved to Canada from Singapore in 2019, when it was time for me to land a full-time role in Canada, I managed to land a role that is considered my dream job in the industry that I had always wanted to get into, in the city that I had always wanted to live in Canada. That being said, I know that one of the most common struggles among newcomers and immigrants and foreigners in Canada is to get an actual job. One of the most frequently asked questions is, how can I actually get an actual job? And by actual job, I'm referring to a job that is in line with your passion, your line of field, or your credentials. It's not like a survival job, like working at Tim Hortons or McDonald's here. But of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But in this video, I want to share with you everything that I knew and everything that I wish I could have found when I was going through this process, trying to land a job that I genuinely feel passionate about and something that I truly wanted to do for a living in Canada. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Febby, and on this channel I share stories and lessons from my nonlinear life journey to help you navigate yours and feel less alone in the process. In today's video, I want to share with you how I approached my job search as a newcomer in Canada when I was trying to land my first full-time role after I graduated from school here in Canada. Okay, I've got 4 key tips for you in today's video. The first one is to sell your experience the Canadian way. There is a way to communicate and articulate your accomplishments the Canadian way. Yet, depending on your cultural background and your upbringing, you might not be familiar or even comfortable doing it the Canadian way. Yet, this is super important. And rather than seeing it as a challenge, I will say that think about it as a way to make sure that you and your prospective employer are speaking the same language. So how do you do it? In my opinion, there are 2 key things. Number 1 is to focus on your contribution versus what you were able to achieve as a group in your past experiences. So what I'm suggesting here is to take a more individualistic lens. Think about how you made an impact, how you made a difference, and how you contributed in that group setting to a success of a project or a pilot, whatever it is that you want to share with your prospective employer. When you have a chance to speak with your prospective employer, make sure that you form it in active verbs to explain how you made an impact or how you drove the initiative. Make sure to use the BAR method or the background, action, and results. This helps set the stage for your employer and also help you tell your story in a concise and impactful way. So this is also part of selling your experience the Canadian way. And storytelling is super important here because you want to be able to set the stage for your employer to let them know how critical or how important something is and how you come in to that scene to make a difference. Number 2 is to quantify your accomplishments whenever possible. So for example, you say things like, the results are great, or it was amazing, my boss said it was the best. Okay, cool, but then what does that really mean? Because it's so relative. But then if you were able to quantify your contribution, for example, thanks to me leading that project, it drove sales by 20%, or it increased the website traffic by 35%. And so on and so forth. Make sure that you focus on your individual accomplishment and what you did to help drive success to anything that you did in the past that was relevant to the job that you're applying for. Now, if you feel like you got the gist of it but are still unsure of how to navigate your job search in Canada, you can check out the virtual career coach feature by PeaceGeeks. So PeaceGeeks is a non-profit organization based in Vancouver dedicated to simplifying immigration journeys for refugees and newcomers in Canada through innovative digital tools. The organization is backed by prominent multinational organizations such as Google, Accenture, BMO, Microsoft, who believe in their mission and what they're doing. The virtual career coach provides a range of services such as support with permanent residency application, AI-enabled interview practice, soft skills quizzes, and also job search tools to help connect newcomers with employment opportunities. Since this feature was only launched in May this year, it's only currently available on their PeaceGeeks website, but don't worry though, because you can just click on the link in my description box down below and everything you need is there. It is super straightforward to navigate, and eventually they will add this feature to their Welcome to Canada app. I'm super happy to be partnering with PeaceGeeks to spread the word about the cool initiatives that they are doing, and I hope that newcomers and immigrants in Canada would be able to benefit from the cool work that PeaceGeeks is doing. So thanks PeaceGeeks for sponsoring this video. Number 2 is to understand the prominent sectors in Canada that vary by province. So available opportunities in Canada are not the same across provinces and cities. Each province and city has some prominent sectors, hence they shape up the available opportunities in that particular city or province. For example, Edmonton is a good city if you want to work in public sector or maybe the startup community. Vancouver is decent for tech or if you are in the creative field. Toronto is great for investment banking and finance and pretty much everything else that you can think about, and the list goes on. And so understanding what you want to do and which industry that you want to get into, and then match that with where you want to be in, because you want to be in the place where the opportunities exist to kind of help make your life easier when it comes to job searching. That being said though, with the remote work trend that is on the rise across the world, including Canada, it is not impossible to get a job in another city or another province that is not your base. I think that with this remote work and with the ever-evolving policy around remote work, every company has different level of flexibility. Some are completely flexible, some are still flexible, but maybe less flexible than other companies. This has been such a controversial topic in Canada and maybe across the world when it comes to the real definition of remote work. So it is always good to see and check the trends at the target companies that you've been eyeing for. But I think the takeaway from this second tip is two things. Number 1 is make sure that you know where the jobs are located in based on the prominent sectors in each city or province, and set yourself up properly. And then another layer to that is make sure that you understand whether remote work is a thing for the industry or for the role or for the line of career that you aspire to build, and build your game plan accordingly. Number 3 is genuine networking. I'm sure that this is not the first time you hear the word networking, as that is such an important thing to do here when you want to land a job in Canada, especially like a real job that I was referring to in the beginning of the video. So I don't want to sing the same old song to you, but I truly believe that networking is an art, just like any other forms of human relationships. I personally have been on both ends, so I've been the one who tries to knock on doors to kind of help create opportunities for myself. And I've also been on the other side of the coin, which is where I try to help people and be the one who extend a helping hand. So speaking from my own experience, there is a way to network that is less stressful or less nerve-wracking and more enjoyable, and could plant the seed in the right soil to help you get closer to where you need to be. And I call it genuine networking. So what does this mean? Instead of coming with a focus of landing a job, try to be genuinely interested in the other person's journey. Ask the other person, how did you get into where you are today in terms of your career progression or your career trajectory? Or how did you first get into the company? What interested you about the company? And while doing this, like, try to really listen intently and find some common ground. Instead of going into the conversation and asking immediately for a job, hey, do you know any openings in your companies? Or like, hey, I'm looking for a job, can you help me with that? Don't focus on taking from the other person. The second thing is try to share a little bit about yourself and then turn the table back to them to ask for advice. So for example, you can say something like, hey, like, I'm really interested in building a career in the line of work that you are also in, and it is because of X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that my observation is accurate? Do you think that my career aspiration is realistic for the career line that I am aspiring to grow in? So focus on asking for advice or perspective instead of asking for a favor. We're all human beings. We need to build that rapport before we can agree to help someone. The last point is to understand what you want to get out of the conversation. So for example, come into the conversation with some key talking points like, okay, I want to learn about this person's career journey. I want to get some advice because maybe this person has been in the industry long enough. I want to maybe validate my assumptions and have the those bullet points and come in with specific questions and open-ended questions. Be strategic and be intentional in terms of what you're hoping to get out of the conversation. And this helps the other person to help you. So help the other person to help you is the key takeaway here. The last one is to acknowledge that there are cultural differences and assimilate as needed. So first thing first, I think whenever you move into a new country or a new place, there will be some differences in terms of cultures that I think is inevitable for us to acknowledge. For Canada especially, like the workplace or Canada in general is a very diverse country with hundreds of like cultural backgrounds. And it's going to take time to really understand how things work in the corporate environment or in the workplace. For example, like the Canadian workplace typically leans on informality, inclusivity, and also self-expression. And this might be really different, for example, for people who are used to the work culture in India as an example. Maybe in India, due to the tight competition, like people have to really do whatever it takes to stand out. Whereas maybe if you come from some parts in Asia where humility and downplaying accomplishments are seen as a good thing, you might struggle with the self-expression piece. Then these people are now in Canada, and it's going to take time for maybe one group to maybe tone down a little bit and the other group to maybe assimilate and be more comfortable in speaking up, in advocating for themselves and things like that. Speaking of work culture in Asia, I've actually made a video about the workplace culture between Asia and Canada. I sort of like did my honest review there and also gave my opinion and perspectives based on my personal experience. So if you're interested in checking that out, the link is in the description box down below, or you can also click this link that I have embedded in my video. I also want to say that I don't think assimilation is like losing yourself or forgetting your roots and abandoning where you come from, but it is more about understanding and integrating into your new environment that aligns with your values and the broader community. Okay, this brings us to the end of the video. If you find this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, if you know of anyone who could benefit from this video, don't forget to share this video with them, because sharing is caring. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.